This is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to our next video lesson. We're going to take the strings introduction video that I just created previously and borrow and move beyond that to try to do something more robust. Instead of assuming that the person's going to type in Robert, which is 6 characters, and it starts at position 0, or Solis, which is 5 characters, and that position starts at index 7, I have no idea what the user is going to type. So really what I need to do is this. I need to find out where is the space. So if the space is at position 6, then I know that 1 minus that will give me the length of the first word. So I need to know a starting point and like the length of the string that I'm going to be grabbing. So why don't I do this? Let me go back over here. I'll move this guy next door over here. And let's go to the declarations, and let's do this. We'll say dim index start as integer. I'll set that to 0 because we're always going to start at index 0, as you see over here in this particular example. So the index start is something that helps me establish the starting position. Now, after I've grabbed that, what should the next index start be for Solis? Well, wherever you find a space, take that plus 1, and now you have the position for the last name. In this case, it's position 7 for my last name. So that variable will take care of that. I think I also need to, find out what the word length is here. So we'll say word length. Again, that's going to be an integer. I don't have to necessarily set that to anything yet because the idea is, in this case, Robert is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so that's what we would want to do. We would want to have word length and set that to 6 in this particular example. And how about location of space or index of space? How about that? So we'll say dim index of space. And the index of the space, in other words, here in this sample text, the space is right here at position 6. So that's what I need to know. What's the index of that space? Because then what I can do is I can say, okay, wherever the index start is, minus the index of space minus 1, well, that's going to give me the length of that first word. And now I want to grab the next word. Okay, well, what is the index of the space? Oh, that's 6 right here. Okay, take 6 plus 1, that's the beginning of my last name. So index start, that's going to be 7 for the word Solis. And then I'm going to have to find what the next index of space is, starting from here. Is 8 a space? No. How about 9? No. 10? No, that's the letter I. 11? No. Over here at position number 12, or index 12, that's where I have a space. So once I find that index of space 12, I can subtract 1 from it. 12 minus 1 is 11. And that is the last part, or the last letter of this. So I could take that 11 minus 7. Well, what is 11 minus 7? Or I could actually take that 12 too. 12 minus 7, that would be, what, 5? So if that's 5, guess how many characters I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in other words, I'm using these numbers and patterns to my advantage to grab the next word, say for example. Okay, I think these are all the variables that I need. Maybe not, I can always come back to it. So let's do this. Instead of first word, I'm going to comment this out. Instead of first word being specifically this substring that starts at 0 and is 6, I know that my first word is going to begin at position 0, but I just don't know how many. See, over here I had it predetermined at 6. So I need to find that out. So let me do this. Let me create a while statement. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll create a counter. Sorry about that. Say dim counter as integer. And I'll set the counter to 0. What I'm going to do is this. The counter is position 0. That's this guy right here. And I'm going to ask the question, is this a space? Nope. How about incrementing the counter to 1? Is that a space? Nope. How about incrementing the counter to 2? Is that a space? Nope. And so forth and so on. Well, how can I determine if it's space? Well, I'm going to use this guy over here, substring. I can grab just that one character starting at position 0, then position 1, position 2, and then ask the question, are you, quote, space, quote, are you a space? All right, so the first thing I better do is, you know what, here's another thing I'm just thinking about. I need to know how long this whole thing is. So I'll do this. I'll create a variable called length. All right, and length is going to be user string dot length. So what the dot length property does is that you can see here it gets the number of characters in the current string. So in this case, I have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So in other words, whatever the indices is plus 1. Because that's a space right there. Now if I did something like this, right, then it would be 12 characters, including the space. All right, so I had the length of the string. The counter, we're going to start that at 0 and just keep on propagating through this. So while the counter is less than the length, while that's the case, we're going to keep on doing something over and over and over again. All right, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to grab that first word, so I need to know where that space is right here. I created a variable called index of space. Okay, so if user string dot substring. Now remember, the first position over here says, okay, what position are you going to start at? I'm going to start at position counter. And I only want to grab one character. That's what this guy over here represents, the length. I just want to grab one character. So this thing is saying, okay, grab position 0 right here, because counter is 0. Grab that R right there, because I only want one character. So if that is space, then so let's grab counter. Counter is 0. That's the letter R. Is R the same thing as a space? No, it isn't. So then what I'm going to do, after the end if statement, is I'm going to say counter is equal to counter plus 1. I'm going to increment the counter. Now the counter will be 2. Is 2 less than the length of the string? Yes, it is. Okay. Now, is position 2, or position 1 I should say, and grab one character, so position 1, grab one character, is O the same thing as a space? No, it isn't, and we're just going to keep on doing this until we find a space. All right, now when we do find a space, that's when I want to set index of space to whatever we found. Index of space is going to be whatever the counter is. Because eventually we're going to go do this. R, O, B, E, R, T. Found it. Space. Where did you find it? At 6. Okay. Index of space is now counter, which is 6. So now that I found the space, I can grab that first word and put that into a variable that I have over here called first word. There it is. Okay. So if I found that, then what I want to do is I want to break out of the program. I don't want to continue going. So my goal here is just to grab the first word. So what I can do is, let's say here, if we found this, then do this. Else, let's see here. What I want to do is I want to break out of the while statement once this is the case. Actually, you know what? I don't have to do the else. I can just do this right here. I can just break right here. Now, what that break statement does, oops, I'm sorry. Oh, actually, I should say exit while. Sorry about that. I'm confusing my C++ and my Visual Basic. Here we go. Exit while. So here's what happens. If this is true, now establish where the index of that space is. I do not want to keep on looping. So exit out of the while statement. So this is true. Establish this. Now jump out of the while statement. Now we're over here. Why keep on going through the string when you have just found where that space is? So let's get out of here. All right, now that you have jumped out of the while statement, I can now determine all these other things here. So let me go back over here to my declaration so I can see my variables that I just created. And I created index start, word length. Okay, so I know the word length now. The word length is going to be, okay, so whatever that space is, minus my starting point, that's the word length. So index of space minus, and do I have a starting point? Yeah, it's called index start. Let's see. This is 6 minus 0, and that's 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, that's in fact the word length. So now that I have the start and I have the word length, now I can say first word is going to be whatever the user string is, dot substring. The first thing that we're going to say is, or we're going to have to give the substring parameter is, where's the start of the string? Well, I have that over here. Index start. Comma. How many characters do you want? Well, I have that now. Word length. Now that I've established what the first word is, and I'll just comment this out for the second word for right now. We'll do this later. I can take that first word and I can place that into the label. Okay, so let me run the program. Now let me type in a different name. Melissa Jones, Citrus College. All right, so what do we have over here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters, obviously different than Robert. So if I click that, notice we were still able to grab Melissa. Let me try something else. How about a funny name like this? Okay, so clearly that's a lot of characters. Let me see, was it able to grab it? It sure was. How about Tim? Yep, it was able to grab it. Because what we're doing is we're saying, is T a space? No. Is I a space? No. Is M a space? No. Is space a space? Yep. Since space is located at this counter, I now know the index of the space. Since I know the index of the space, I know what to grab. I'm going to grab from position 0 all the way up to whatever that space is, -1. I now know I have 3 characters to grab. And that's the whole strategy that you're implementing over here. Now I can go ahead and do the same thing for the next word, and the next word, and the next word. And I can grab each of the different words and then do something with them, change them, maybe store them, say for example. Because this thing is what's referred to as space delimited. It is separated by spaces. Right? That's how we read. We know the definition of this word, this word, this word. But we know that what the word is because it's separated by spaces. And that's it. All right, so this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.